Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Grind, a podcast about content creation. Today, we have a bit of a special episode where we'll all talk a bit with our guests about what they do, but then we're going to focus mainly on mental health and burnout in terms of how it affects content creation. Today, we have Chris joining us.
Hey, everyone.
And we have Josh.
Howdy.
And two of our very special guests. Going to start off with Joe. How about you give yourself a little introduction?
Everyone, my name is Joe Medforce. I am a streamer, content creator, and live on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Part-time stream, working on a full-time dream, ridiculous positive passion, and I'm really happy to be here. So thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, no problem. And Dr. Amiad Freeman.
How's it going, guys? I'm Amiad. Thanks for having me. I am the host and founder of Digital Doc Games, which is the Games for Health content creation channel and podcast, where we talk about every way that games and health are connected. It's my background in games, my background in medicine, and just super passionate about the two. So really excited to be here and honestly get to talk to you guys for a little bit.
Oh, we're honored to have both of you guys here because I know Joe, he's always championing mental health, and I know you being in the medical profession, I'm sure same thing.
100%.
So
he's like maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked. It's come up, you know.
Yeah, I've thought about it before.
That's right.
Yeah, I take it into consideration, you know.
Yeah. So a little background behind this is I kind of had this idea back in January because with also just myself just kind of getting burnt out and just kind of being, I don't say done with streaming, but since the end of October, after I had my big nostalgia month, I just, my analytics were just going downhill ever since then. And I just not having the time to do streaming really, because I don't get home until like 6. And by the time I would even get to start streaming, it'd be 7:30. I have to be in bed by like 10, 11 because I have to get up at 5 for work. And it's like, I just did not have the time, and it was just kind of burning me down. So I made the decision in January to stop streaming, and kind of like mid-January to like early February, I just noticed a lot of people kind of doing the same thing, or at least taking a break from streaming. So I thought it'd be kind of a cool idea to have a podcast to have some people on to talk about mental health and burnout. So I guess maybe Joe, do you want to start off? Any stories or anything you want to talk about with mental health and burnout?
Yeah, I'm happy to do so. Just recently, I decided that I had to take a step back. I had to take a little bit of a break. I have been streaming part-time for almost a year now, and on a regular 3-day schedule for the past few months. And at the same time, I think like a lot of people during the pandemic, I've been struggling. I've been very much aware that my mental health has not been in the best place. It's not been where I want it to be. I am a hugely social person. And while I've made so many friends online this year and gotten to know so many people and can have fun playing games with everyone, not being able to go out into the world and see my friends and family really took a toll on me. And it's something, my streams, I always want them to be a place where everyone can be themselves and be honest about who they are and how they're feeling as well. The idea is that if you come in to my chat, this is going to be a space for you to hopefully feel a little bit better about your day, if possible. Because when I first started streaming, in the very first week that I streamed, someone said that they said that that their day had been made a little bit better. They were having a bad day, but tuning into my stream had helped them. And that really spoke to me personally, because I've looked to people on YouTube, podcasts I listen to, music, people who create art and entertainment to provide a positive impact, not only just in terms of inspiring me to make my own things, but I think to also just make it through the the day-to-day things that we all struggle and deal with. And mental health is something that still there is such a huge stigma around. People don't talk about it enough. And I made sure that when I took a week off streaming, just this past week or so, early actually it was towards the end of March, beginning of April, I was clear and made sure to tell everyone that I'm doing this because I've not been in a good place. I'm doing this because it wasn't necessarily feeling burnt out specifically, but I've changed over to a different kind of antidepressant medication. And that is a difficult transition for anyone who's ever been on any kind of antidepressants or, medication for, any kind of health issues, whether it's mental or physical health. Changing over to a different type of medication is a difficult thing to do. And I wanted to make sure that I was open about that, and also just that if I've had a bad day at work, or I'm having a bad week, or even a bad month, that I make it a point to not, as much as my streams are about having fun and trying to give everyone a bit of an escape, including myself, that actually I'm not, it's not me putting on a show or putting on a face or putting on a mask. It's actually that I'm doing this so we can all hopefully feel a little bit better, and that includes myself. And sometimes, just like you said, Alec, with what happened with you in January, you realizing that, especially with other stuff you might have been taking on, if you're diving into lots of other creative projects, stuff like the Waypoint podcasts, or anything else, sometimes, whether it is with work, with making things online, or anything else, sometimes too much is just too much, and you've got to actually say, I need to put myself first, because no one else is going to do that, and take that time to take a bit of another look at things, and just have some time to rest as well and recharge those batteries. It's really important to do that.
Yeah, that was like another big thing, because I was staying up till midnight, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning sometimes, when I have to be up at 5. So that lack of sleep, it just got to me one week, and I'm like, I need to change. I need to change this, because sleep is important.
Yeah.
Amiad, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to let everybody know about mental health and burnout.
For sure. So, oh my gosh, where to start? There are so many wonderful things that video games can do for someone's mental health. I strongly believe that. I think that's probably not lost to the folks on this discussion, and probably the listeners as well. And was a huge inspiration for me to start Digital Games, where we look at what are the actual neurocognitive effects that you can have from playing a game. What is the benefits of escapism from walking in another character's shoes, from understanding mental health by playing a game like Hellblade. There's also the benefit of the community that comes from these games, which is such a special thing about video games. Communities like this, like Waypoint, I think all of us, right? Kind of funny what that has meant for us, what they're doing. When you go on Twitch, just the nature of chatting and getting to know these people all across the world, there's something really special about it. But Alec and Joe, like you mentioned, there's also the flip side of this, is that there are times when video games and content creation and streaming can have a negative effect, and we need to be careful about that. And burnout is something that's really, really real. For me, this is a topic I'm super passionate about, because burnout is a gigantic problem in the medical field. Physician burnout is extremely prevalent and dangerous. You have, physicians that are becoming depressed, physician suicide, and it's a similar thing of the strain that the job can take on you. And Joe, I think you said it so well, of not being able to put yourself first because of the job, and how rare that is to be able to actually be able in life sometimes to put yourself first. So I think with content creation, for most people, right, it's not a full-time job, so it's a little bit different. It's something you have a little bit more control over. Um, and it sounds, Alec and Joe, like you both have, it's very important to be aware, because the it's really easy to get wrapped up on the analytics and the view count and the schedule and everything you look. If you look, tips for being a streamer, right? The first thing you're going to see is stick to a schedule, stick to a schedule, stick to a schedule. And that's true, I think, if you want to become a partner or someone really successful or whatever it is. But for me, I always tell people that it's really important to set goals for yourself, as what do you want to get out of your streaming. And very personally, I struggle with this time and time again, and I have to bring it back to the basics. And I say, Amjad, why am I doing this? You know what I mean? And for me, it's, as long as I am enjoying what I'm doing, as long as I'm having the conversations I want to be having, playing the games I want to be having, then that's really what I'm doing this. If I can become successful and, accumulate an audience and all, that's fantastic. But at the end of the day, this is because I am passionate about this. And so for me, if I need to step back and skip a day because I got 2 kids running upstairs, it is very hard to stream with it. You guys mentioned a job and certainly having a family and all these things. It doesn't always work out, but it goes back to, what are you doing this for? And I think you'll find when you take those breaks and you take those steps back, it's going to be pretty hard to find someone who's not supportive of that decision. I mean, the community gets it. And just last week I was streaming Life is Strange 2. And I was getting to the end of episode 1, and I really wanted to finish the chapter. And my daughter was coming downstairs and making all sorts of commotion and everything, and it was fine. She was happy, but I had multiple people in my stream saying, "Hey, Amjad, like, you don't need to push to the end of this chapter. Like, if you want to go, like, spend time with your family, like, that's fine." So even having the community for that support, I think, is wonderful to remind you of that. But yeah, I mean, I think you covered it, right? It's being honest with yourself and remembering that, for most of us, it depends again what your goals are, but it's okay to not always be on Twitch, right? It's okay to take a step back.
For sure, yeah. That's with me trying to do Twitch and Waypoint at the same time and having the little free time I do have. It's like, okay, one of these got to go, and I'm having way more fun doing Waypoint than I am with Twitch streaming. Not that I didn't love Twitch streaming, it's just doing Waypoint. It's just fun. I'm just always have a blast doing it. So
right,
it's all right.
I like it.
Now, Chris or Josh, do either of you guys have anything you want to add?
I do, but I might be a little long-winded if you want to go first, Josh.
Nothing overly. I just like great points in terms of just keeping it open and transparent, especially with the community too. Yeah, I think that helps quite a bit. I think seeing people's messages, just that they're not doing the best, is relatable, and I think that helps open it up and kind of makes it, helps decrease the stigma around it.
Yeah, just being honest with people and be like, hey, I'm not okay. Like our friend of the show, Caesar Towers, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's also one of the powers of a community, the power of a community, and the responsibility, honestly, of a community is to be, there's this question of, what is a mental health advocate, right? What's that line between a mental health provider or facilitator and an advocate? And an advocate really is someone who generates that support. And I do think you find this often in video game communities, like, streaming communities. But I think even going that extra mile and figuring out, as a community or as a community owner, facilitator, what's the extra step that I can take to actually provide these resources for anyone who maybe isn't okay and, needs someone to, whether it's an advocate just to support them, to listen to them for a little bit, or maybe needs to take the extra step and maybe go get something a little bit more along the lines of professional assistance. How can they do that?
Right.
And we have the power generating and being a part of these large communities of people all over the world to help actually make an impact in their mental health by either being that advocate or that facilitator to take them to the next step, which is really awesome.
Exactly. And just through opening up, and it doesn't mean that you have to all of a sudden, turn your private life into, a public spectacle for everyone to know all the ins and outs about how you're feeling on a minute to minute basis. It is actually just about making it clear that, as you say, as Caesar says, like, it's okay not to be okay, and telling people that they're not alone in that journey, and letting them know that this is what I did. Me personally, I have counseling every week. I make sure that I'm in regular communication with my doctor about whether my recent medication wasn't working out for me. So let's figure out something different. Let's figure out what I should be changing, what I should be doing to improve this, and just encouraging people, as difficult as it is, to talk to their friends and to talk to their family. I think that the pressures that a lot of, whether you're a streamer, a podcaster, a YouTuber, any kind of content creator, the pressures that they can put on themselves to always be this paragon, this perfect image of what you want to see in the glossy Instagram photos, and the funny clips and all of that is actually, it can really present that's not reality. We all know it's not, but we end up accepting it because it's what we see through our phones while we're watching people at their best on Twitch or on YouTube or these other platforms. And actually the sort of, I think I have seen the fact of, the more that I actually provide even if it's just a small glimpse into how I'm really feeling about stuff, people do connect with that, and people can relate to that.
Absolutely.
And providing that sort of a space, and then being able to do exactly what Amiad says in terms of signposting them to these resources and people who can actually provide some more substantial help. Once the stream is off, it's not about, you can say that you're available to talk to, but I think that it's actually there's something to be said for making sure that people know that there's a time and a place for them to open up, but equally they need to, in some cases it might be that they need to be seeking professional help, and also that there's no shame in that. There's nothing.
Absolutely.
There's no shame in admitting that you need a bit more support, whether it's from friends, family, or a doctor, or a counselor, or someone who can really whose job it is to really help people out.
1,000%.
I'll just add 2 points on that. So, action items, kind of, if that sounds like something you want to incorporate into your stream, but you don't necessarily know how to do that, there's some really wonderful resources out there, two that come to mind. So I'm on the clinical advisory board of if you're in the UK or even not, of a really great mental health charity in the UK called Safe in Our World. And they have some, they look at mental health awareness and decreasing mental health issues in gamers, but also gaming industry professionals. But they have some great resources if you want to adapt and take some of that responsibility into your own stream. Another one closer to the US here is Take This, which is a very similar organization here in the US that also has wonderful resources and some great people that are over working for them at Take This. I think there's one in Australia also, if you're in Australia, called, gosh, what's it called? Anyway, they're all wonderful. So Take This and Safe in Our World, you can go check them out. But then the other point that I just want to bring up is that while this is all great, and if you want to take on this responsibility of being an advocate and being someone to open up and share a little bit more in your stream about your own life and making yourself available, that's wonderful. But if you don't want to do that, that's okay too. And if you do want to do it sometimes, and sometimes you don't want to do it, that's also okay. And you know, Dr. Rachel Cowart, who actually is the research director of Take This, has some wonderful videos and interviews out on her YouTube channel, Zeitgeist, about parasocial relationships, which are these real relationships, but they take place over the internet. They're sort of one-sided because it is streamer to viewer or content creator to audience. And what is your responsibility there? And the lesson is, the takeaway is, the responsibility is, again, what you want it to be. You can have a responsibility. You don't need one. If there's someone talking to you in the chat, it's okay for you not to respond. It's okay for you to respond. The ownership and the choice is really up to the person presenting, and that's okay. If someone wants to be there for that, that's cool. They can stay in the stream. If that's not what they're about and they're like, you know what, the streamer's not really for me, they can bounce and go somewhere else. But the pressure bar should be low, and you should always remember that.
Yeah, so before we move on to the next part of the podcast, I know, Chris, you mentioned you wanted to talk about something.
Yeah, I had just a couple things. Where granted, as far as burnout specifically, I think my own experiences sound pretty similar to what Joe's gone through. Just to where, I mean, the sort of vibe that I want to foster there is almost like the goal on Twitch, at least for me and for the RoboPack channel, was really to create this sort of atmosphere of like sitting on the couch with some of your best friends and just hanging out, playing video games, and arguing about stupid things like the definition of annually or something like that. And what's crazy about that too is also, like Joe, I actually started almost a year ago now. I think we started pretty darn close to each other, and there was a slippery slope of immediately starting and there suddenly immediately being tons of people, like right when I started, which was something that I didn't ever expect to have. I think I hit affiliate in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
And yeah, it blew up. It was so weird. And then
KFBFs don't mess around.
KFBFs don't play around. I mean,
that's right.
And then after a little while, you know, it plateaued out a bit, which it was bound to do. It's just Twitch be like that sometimes. And I think there was like the first time I really had to stop and take a mental health break was asking that sort of question of seeing people around me who had started around the same time continue. It's an analytics thing, right? All of their stuff continue to go up, and mine's kind of hitting just like it's flattening out a bit. And I did the thing you're not supposed to do in content creation, and being like, what are they doing that I'm not? You know,
oh my God.
And like, why is it working for them and not for me? And initially I had just tried to power through that and keep going. And with my work schedule, I know it was mentioned briefly earlier. I mean, you know, it is important to do it regularly, have a schedule and that sort of thing. But not if it doesn't work for everyone, because it wasn't working for me after a while. And after I got a new job, and my work schedule is not regular. It all depends on what kind of work that we have coming in every week, which then affects when I can stream and that sort of thing. It was a lesson in just learning to kind of accept what I had, and that was going to be fine, because the people that were going to show up were still going to show up anyway. And but that can really get to you when the numbers aren't going up like they used to, and it feels like a bit of a cop out to say sometimes, but I mean it's just like you kind of got to ignore some of that stuff because it's only going to lead like to bad thoughts, at least for me.
1000%.
When I was the other like big kind of thing that I really wanted to touch is when I first got onto Twitch specifically. Even when I started Rumble I wasn't planning on Twitch streaming on like super regularly. It was actually just going to be like an every now and again thing. The main focus was going to be YouTube content, and that's 100% flip flopped. I think I have 2 videos on YouTube now. I did it that first time, and I was like, wow, this is really fun. But when I'd first come in, I started like the day I got fired, because I was like, well, my schedule's open now. Like I might as well start it up. And the like mentally where it was coming in, and I mean it was a fantastic escape from some of the hardships that I was going through at the time, what with unemployment and finding a new job and doing all that stuff. And suddenly I had this big like cushion of amazing people to kind of hold me up and keep me there. But going into it, something that I thought I had, I didn't. Earlier this year, it's come to my attention that since I was about 15, 16 years old, I thought that I had what was known as dysthymia or high functioning depression. Because I mean, it's like I would go through these depressive episodes, but I wasn't ever like typical depressed, if that makes any sense. It's like the only way I can really describe it. I wasn't like chained to my bed. Like I could still go out and hang out with friends and you always got that terrible thing people would say where it's like, man, I think I'm depressed, and they'd be like, oh, but I've seen you laugh before, and I was like, that's not, come on,
not what depression is.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
And what I've recently discovered and have now been, I think this is my first time actually saying this publicly, have now been like officially diagnosed, is what I actually had was ADHD. And kind of I'm to deal with that has been its own really fun adventure, especially as I'm sitting here trying to still regularly stream on Twitch. My work hours are all over the place. I have no meds still because American healthcare, yay!
Right.
And, but at the time of recording, this actual past week was sort of my return to Twitch. I spent about 2.5 weeks off because I'd sit down and it was just a feeling of burnout to where I don't ever want to come across as disingenuous on any of my content. Like I don't want it to feel forced or anything, and I don't think anyone wants that. But I mean, sometimes you feel almost obligated to keep going when you don't necessarily need to. And so I just sat down one day. I posted on Twitter, and I was like, hey, I'm really not feeling it. I'm going to take a couple steps back. And I think, again, this is all kind of stuff that we've covered today, but I think trying to be as open as possible about your struggle is such an important thing, because it makes a very unique environment as opposed to just about any other social media platform that I can think of, where it feels like the goal almost is to have your life look as perfect and as well organized as possible. And
right.
I just don't think you need to do that. I don't think people are necessarily, I don't think they want to see that sort of thing. People want something that feels genuine and real. And sometimes, a lot of times, genuine and real is like, hey, I'm not feeling well. And it's like, I'm not going to come scream at a video game because I just don't have it in me.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's at least like personal experience with burnout. I think I have a bit of a reputation for taking a week off here or there, because I mean, there are just days, I mean, with learning about ADHD and getting bullied on Twitter like I was last night. Sometimes you just have to sometimes you have to be like, no, I can't make that sort of choice. And there's never anything wrong with saying, hey, I can't do it tonight.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I want to stress that as much as possible for other people who are trying to get into it or understanding. It's like, also, if I take a week off or if we take time off or whatever, I'm not, it's not indefinite or that sort of thing, or I'm not, at least personally, I'm not like suicidal. I've never been that, but and so they're like, oh no, like please be okay, please get better. And I'm like, I promise you, I'm just tired, like, and I just have to like reset because I've been doing this for so long. Like, I promise I'm okay. Eventually, I will be, but it's like right now I just gotta rest. Like,
and that goes to normalizing it, right? I mean, like, can anyone honestly say they haven't felt that before? And like, it doesn't always have to be the end of the spectrum, extreme. You know, talking about suicidal ideation. Like, it could just be, hey, I need a break. You know, everyone understands that.
Yeah, because it's for anyone who is looking, listening, and watches people on Twitch or anything else, you know, from Twitch to TikTok, it's tumultuous. No one is, unless they already have an existing audience and a platform and they've been doing it for years, the people who we look up to, or the people who, you know, you see, who clearly are kind of, they've, you know, got it figured out, right? But even then, it is never a guarantee.
They don't.
And it's, yeah, exactly. No one, we were just saying this before we went live, it's like no one knows what they're doing, and that's okay too. And therefore, it is never something that you need to be concerned about in terms of, you have to do what works for you. And if you know, you hit the ground running, and then things start to get a little bit rocky, then definitely make sure you are taking care of yourself, and that you're not, just because no one should be sitting down to stream for, you know, 6-8 hours every day, because you're first of all, Twitch has not got any really good discoverability for stuff like that, and second of all, you are just gonna, and there's too much of a good thing. And you know, playing video games is great, but there is a ceiling to how much you can be on, and be online as well. It's you know, you need to make sure that you are understanding that actually part of, also, if you do decide this is for you and you want to try and make some form of, you know, whether it's part-time or full-time career out of it, part of being a role model is letting people know that you know, that yeah, the grind is real, but also you shouldn't let it, you know, wear you down, and you need to take a step back sometimes, and just
100%.
You know, and
that's actually been like one of my small worries with naming something The Grind, which, by the way, I believe was the name that I came up with. So that might be my fault. But I mean, at the same time, I think it can be like enjoyable to sit down and grind sometimes. I mean, that's literally, it's like a thing in video games, right? Where you sit down and be like, yo, I'm gonna sit down and play Final Fantasy, just grind out like Cloud until he gets whatever summon that I need, or I pull the shit out my ass. I don't know, but I mean that's what it is that can be enjoyable, and I think that goes towards like working in content creation and that sort of thing, to where it can be a lot of fun sometimes to be like, yo, I'm just gonna sit down, I'm just gonna work on stuff and really be at it. I'm every day on that grind. I'm doing that stuff, but you can't. I mean, there's also at the same time, there's nothing wrong with doing that, and then after a little while being like, okay, it's time to take a break. Like,
you know,
like yeah, go for
it. I mean, here's the thing that's different about grinding in games versus grinding in life, or, you know, whatever your hustle is, right? In games, so in games, I think of the flow chart, right? Let me see, I can frame myself here, right? So you got your x-axis and your y-axis here, okay? And on your y-axis, you have, let's see if I can make this up. Basically, you have a beautiful slope in the middle. That's your flow chart. And on above, you have anything that's too challenging, and below you have something that's too easy. So you want to be in that spot in the middle. Grinding sometimes, and that's like the theory of game design. It's a theory of productivity, of mental health, like all these things. Grinding in games, sometimes you slip into that lower area, actually, where maybe it's not so challenging. You're kind of just doing the same thing over and over, but you keep going to, you know, to achieve some goal. And that's kind of how you get past that. But the reason that's different than grinding in real life is that's all constant in games. That chart doesn't really change. But in life, your too challenging can start coming lower. So before, you could be in this beautiful flow state, you know, of productivity, but then, you know, your job picks up, and now all of a sudden you're in the same spot, but you're in the too challenging zone. So you have to be able to, you know, work that slope a little bit to your favor. So I think just being aware, and that means your content, your schedule's going to look differently to match what you're able to do
Exactly.
productivity wise.
Mm-hmm. And I think in gaming there's kind of like an instant reward, or you can track your progression a lot easier versus real life. Whereas, like Joe said, like this is tumultuous. Like you're doing it constantly, and so it gets harder and harder to see how much you're actually progressing in real life
Right.
versus in a game. And I think then it's so easy to compare yourself to others who are hitting their goals, and comparison is the thief of joy, like easily. And yeah, it's just so easy to help weigh you down and lose motivation.
Is that yours, Josh? Did you come up with comparison being the thief of joy just off the top there? Because I want to take that. I want to frame it. That's an incredible phrase. Like, no joke. That's amazing.
I think I heard it from Troy Baker on the Kind of Funny.
That's it sounded a little familiar, but I couldn't put my finger on it.
Amazing,
poetic for me. It's too poetic for me, so it's definitely that's where I got it from.
No,
yes.
It's beautiful.
He is such a poet.
Something I want to add to before we move on to these other testimonials, for lack of a better word, too, is that I just want to go ahead and say we mentioned it a few minutes ago, but I am 100% making up everything as I'm going along. I do not have things figured out at all. I'm living by the seat of my pants, man.
Same.
Like, please do not ever think that I have it figured out.
None of us. Someone once told me, or I read somewhere, like, you're not a content creator until you've been at it for a year. And first of all, I think that's totally not true.
Bullshit.
You're bullshit. You're a content creator the second you put it out. I think you put something out. I think what to take away from that kind of misguided statement is that you're not going to figure out, quote unquote, what you're doing, or not going to, know what is your content channel, maybe until you start getting that time to a year. Like, where you start and where you're going to end up is going to be different, because it is a product of iteration. Like, it is something that's always evolving and changing. So that's what I take from that.
Before we get into the viewer submissions, do anybody have any like quick, I don't say, maybe tips or tricks to kind of dealing with mental health? And so one, if you don't mind, I actually have one I can start off with. This is actually something my boss, when I was at work, he kind of taught me when we were just getting swamped with projects at work. And, he's had this big list of projects in the queue, and he just said, take a step back, breathe, and take it one step at a time. Just looking at the task that's right in front of you. Don't get worried about the ones that are 3 projects down the line. Just focus on the task at hand.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that's helped so much.
I had my therapist say the exact same thing in terms of just make a short list, make something that, like prioritize what you need to do for the day. And then, if it's not due, like stop worrying about stuff so further down the line. It kind of help like flow through and make a pipeline of being productive and just ranking, what your tasks is. And I think that's especially helpful when you are feeling unmotivated and when something further down the line is definitely bogging you down. I think it's very helpful.
Also, just take care of what you need. And what we all need is to make sure that we are drinking water, that we are eating, as good food as we can. And sleep. if you have medication, sleep, take it, and sleep. And also, as much as I love video games, get outside. Like, go, obviously social distance, wear your mask if you need to, but go out, get some fresh air, and also exercise if you can.
Working out has helped me a ton.
Yeah, even just like I forced myself to pick Ring Fit Adventure back up, and I worked out yesterday.
Ring Fit's awesome.
I want to play it so bad. It looks so fun.
It is great. It's seriously great. Yeah, it's a really good tool, and
I actually saw results from it too, which was super cool.
It's a good workout. Like, may look ridiculous, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's just and I think I'm sure be able to speak to this even more so. The mind and the body are way more connected than anyone, even still understands. And you are going to see such an improvement if you start making sure that you take care of yourself physically, as well as focusing on, taking those deep breaths, taking the time for yourself, and doing what you enjoy as well.
Right. Man, yeah, I'm sitting here being like, why did I go to medical school for 4 years? You guys just nailed it. You know what I mean? We could have just had this conversation, saved me a lot of time and money.
I didn't even pay for it.
No, I totally agree. The other sort of thing I would just add is Josh, you mentioned, that you see a therapist, and I think that's a really important thing to normalize, and that therapy doesn't have to be something that is just left for when you need it and you feel like you're in trouble. It could be something that you do all the time. And I think normalizing that and is a wonderful thing. Everyone should be doing that if that's something they want to do. The other thing, and I think you guys hit all the points. So I'll just throw one trick that I did a lot of research in during my time in med school and continue to be excited about. So biofeedback is a really cool, engaging area of science, which is, if you're aware of your metrics, which is really easy now that people have Apple Watches and things like that, tricks that you can actually do yourself to put yourself in a healthier physiologic and actually even mental health state. So a really, really easy one is called paced breathing. What you do is just set a timer for 2 minutes, breathe in for 6 seconds, breathe out for 6 seconds, repeat for 2 minutes. And actually that has some really, really great science to it that if you do that, even if you just do it once a day or when you're feeling stressed out, that actually is tied to making your heart, your blood pressure, your physiologic metrics actually healthier, and has a really positive effect on stress as well. So there you go. That's a little trick.
All right. So this next portion of the podcast, we asked our lovely community to send in some whatever thoughts they had on mental health, and if they had any tricks to share them too. So we're going to get that started. If my mouse can cooperate. So here we go.
Hi, I'm Matt, aka Stormageddon. I am a podcaster, a producer, a DJ, and a Twitch streamer. I am the host of Screen Snark, a TV and movie podcast, 2 video game podcasts, Fun and Games with Matt and Jeff, as well as Reignite, which is a Mass Effect retrospective podcast. I also host an interview series called CPOV Autographs, and I'm the producer and sometimes host of Shut Up Evan, which is a podcast about gay shit and internet culture with the incredible Evan Ross Katz. I also edit and produce for a bunch of other podcasts, as well as stream twice a week and work a full-time job. The reason I mention all of that up top is because when talking about mental health and burnout, working on so much can affect that, both positively and negatively. I have found that when I'm depressed, I often want to do more work, not less, when it comes to the things that I'm creating, which is a nice problem to have, I guess. As far as burnout goes, I was dealing with burnout during the pandemic, especially because I felt like I was beating my head against the wall with a bunch of stuff, and I don't have a clear answer on how to handle burnout. I think what works for me is if I'm working on one of my projects and I'm not feeling it or I'm feeling burned out, I'll shift my attention to a different project. Something that saved me from burnout recently is Fun and Games started a short side series called Side Quests, where a different host, this is a series I produced, but I'm not hosting, although I've been on a few episodes. A different host will come on and talk for 5 to 15 minutes about a game they love and why they love it. No judgment, no issues, no complaining, just pure love for a game that means a lot to them. And we've had other podcasters, other content creators, YouTubers, all sorts of folks come in and do episodes, and that's been really great. As of when I'm recording this, we've done like 60 something episodes. And that really helped my mental health because it was something that was completely mine, that wasn't my voice specifically, but was contributing to positive culture on the internet around video games, which there isn't often a lot of, as people like to complain about the games industry, sometimes rightfully so, but it was nice to put some positivity out into the world. There are no magic tricks to burnout, I've found. I think that if you're burning out on the work you're doing, you need to either try something different or take a break. I as someone who creates a lot of video game related content, dedicate certain video games to just being for offline time to myself, not streaming, not talking about on podcast games. That helps playing those games. The Yakuza series, famously, if you follow me on Twitter, has been a game that series of games that I've been playing a bunch. I'm up to Yakuza 3 as we speak, playing on the remastered collection, and playing those games have really helped my mental health just because I love them so much. So if there's like a game series that you've been meaning to dive into, maybe leave that as your offline time. I also listen to a lot of music. I'm a big music nerd. I said it before, I'm a DJ. And so something that helps with burnout sometimes also is just listening to my favorite album, listening to an album that I'm really hot on right now. Those kinds of things help to kind of clear my mind and let me focus on something else for a bit. I think that if you're dealing with mental health issues, there is, again, no magic bullet, especially when you're creating content. I think being honest about it helps. The incredible Cypher of Tyr gave me advice once that when you're streaming, if you still want to stream, but you don't feel like playing the game you want to play, then don't play it. Play something else, or don't play at all and just kind of chat with your followers. Because ultimately your mental health has to come first. And I think having a community and people I trust and people to talk to has really helped with that as well. I think there is a really high chance, if you're working on a lot of things, of hitting burnout. And I think being aware of it is important, but I don't think you should be afraid of it. And I think that as long as you have things to fall back on or ways to cope with stress and anxiety, that will ultimately be the greatest help you have. But everybody's different too. You know, I get anxious and stressed out about a lot of things, but the stuff I make isn't one of those things. I think I've hit a stride where just knowing what my audience wants and what I feel comfortable making. I found actually something that helps with burnout a lot is guesting on someone else's podcast or being on someone else's stream, because I get to let go of the reins, right? I'm not in control. It's just me going along for the ride. And as a creator, collaboration is one of those things that always recharges my batteries, especially with folks I really enjoy working with. I can't think of anything else that comes to mind. I think also getting a lot of rest, not staying up late or getting no sleep. I think I'm someone who wants to burn the midnight oil just either in my downtime or when I'm working on stuff. And I think getting enough sleep also has been a really big help, which I'm sort of getting better at, but not great at. So I guess those are my thoughts. I was just checking in with Waypoint Podcast's instructions. Thank you, Waypoint Podcast, for giving me a chance to talk about this. I love the podcast and I love what y'all do. I hope some folks find this helpful. Again, I'm Matt, aka Stormageddon. If you want to find out more about me, you can go to www.djstormageddon.com. All of my podcasts are there. My Twitch stream is there. My merch is there. All that fun stuff. And if you ever have questions about mental health or burnout, I'm not an expert, but I'm happy to talk to folks online. Again, the best way to reach me is on Twitter, DJ_Stormageddon over there. So thanks again, and thanks, Waypoint Pod.
Anybody got any comments on that? Or
actually, yeah, something I wanted to touch in that I meant to bring up earlier and I forgot, as I want to do, was actually just sort of the something that helps me personally a bit, how to deal with at least like kind of the smaller stuff is music. In fact, in high school, if you'd asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up or whatever, I would have told you I wanted to be a musician. I played since I was like 10, I'm just constantly surrounded by that. Now I also feel like I should put out the disclaimer: therapy over music. Like, please see a therapist if it's bad.
Exactly.
But it's like if you just kind of need the like a positive boost or a little something to help get you through the day. Music has done that for me lots and lots of times. For those that watch my content, I don't think it's any secret that I'm a huge fan of a band called August Burns Red, who are this very upbeat, aggressive metalcore band. I mean, it's just very loud and fast and heavy. And but part of their whole shtick, that's not the right word, but you know what I mean, is I have a t-shirt from them that says it's angry music for happy people, because it is very uplifting, and the idea is like, despite sounding so like heavy and aggressive, like as you're getting destroyed by these like double kick beat downs and these really low guitar tunings, they have lyrics. There's a song that I've been listening to on the regular recently called Dismembered Memory. It's off of their most recent album, Guardians. But it's like during the breakdown of Dismembered Memory, their vocalist Jake, just with it, while again being crazy aggressive, the lyrics are it's like, this is a conflict that you can conquer, and they have like so many things like that. I mean, I have the words "rescue and restore" tattooed on my arm, which is the name of one of their albums. They have another song that always hits deep, which this one I can't actually remember the name. I'll have to go and look it up. I know it's off the album Found in Faraway Places, but I mean, one of the lyrics is that bravery will find you while your head is held low. And all of their stuff is like, look, I know life is hard and can do that, but like it kind of pulls on your inner strength. Is like, you are strong enough to do this, and you can. And if you like very fast and heavy music while also wanting to be happy, August Burns Red is the way to go, man. I can't recommend it enough, dude.
I can't speak enough to the healing power of music, and how much that can bring me out of a depressive spell, or really help me just almost put any of those anxious worries and concerns to the side. Even just last week, 21 Pilots announced that they're coming out with a new album. And their lead single is just such a bop, and it is insane how many times I've listened to that song. You know, it happened. Someone said they put it out while I was on the stream, and obviously Twitch's DMCA rules meant that I couldn't listen to it with people, but we all still listened to it together. I was playing with some friends.
Everyone be cool about this, all right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we listened to it while I was live, and it put such a smile on my face. And just like with Chris and August Burns Red, if you have a favorite band, a favorite album, just remember that that's always in your back pocket for you to go back to. And I think, picking up on what DJ Stormageddon said there, just really, whether it is on the streams or offline, engage with and focus on what you love, whether it's music, whether it's movies, whether it's games. Look to what, because not everything is always gonna make you feel better, but actually doing things and taking time to spend with what you love doing and enjoy, either by yourself or with other people, is so important. And I think that, just like he said as well, whether it's podcasting with others or just talking to others in general, and it gives you that chance to first of all listen and understand what other people might be going through, but it takes you out of yourself for a little bit, because we can all get in our own heads too much sometimes, and it's not always the best place to be.
Yeah, no, I think I schedule some joy into your day, right? Whatever that looks like for you, schedule it. You know what I mean? Don't just say, if there's time, whether it's some aggressive, happy music or some chiller bops, or playing a game, whatever it is, make sure you have the time for it. Exercise, mental health, all these things. It's not, oh, I'm going to enter this in my free time. Like, no, you got to make way for this. So I think it's really important. The other thing that Stormageddon mentioned that I think was really insightful was just like, for him, like depression, he dives into his work. And I think that might be surprising to some people, but that's actually not uncommon. It doesn't necessarily mean lying in bed all day. It may, that might be the most typical, but it sort of can take the form of starting to ignore other important things of your life while hyper focusing on one aspect of it. And that might be productive, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a good thing. So just kind of being aware of your own mental health.
here's the next one.
Good afternoon, sports fans. I'm your friendly neighborhood Paul, and the guys over at Waypoint have given me an opportunity to talk to you guys a little bit about mental health, so here I am. Now, some of the things that I do to kind of pull myself out of my blue periods, as I so lovingly refer to them as, may not necessarily apply to you. But if at least one of them do, well then, that's all that matters. Now, for me, when I'm in these days or sometimes weeks of depression, sometimes it's just a matter of doing something. Anything. Whether it be something as simple as taking a shower, changing my clothes, eating something, drinking water. Hell, taking a walk outside when it's safe to do so. These little things that help to take care of you can sometimes be the stepping stones to kind of pulling yourself out of the funk that you may find yourself in. However, one of the biggest things that I can tell you from personal experience is reaching out. And for some people, that's a lot harder than others. For me, as outgoing and ridiculous as a character as I am, trying to actually talk to somebody about actual problems I have is very difficult. But sometimes you don't need to do that. Sometimes all you need to do is sit in a Discord call and talk about the playlist that the music bot is shuffling through. Just talking to other people, having other people pull you out of your own head can sometimes be all you need to kind of start getting back to a semblance of normal. Don't be afraid to reach out for help, whether it be somebody online or somebody professionally. No matter how small you may think your problem is and how much you don't want to burden somebody else, you're not a burden. And your problem, though you may think it's small, is still a problem. That doesn't mean you don't deserve help. You matter. You're important. And on one final closing note, avoid alcohol. Speaking from a lot of experience on this one, seeking comfort in a bottle is never a good idea. It seems good in premise, rarely does it ever work out in practice. Hi, I'm your friendly neighborhood Paul, reminding you that you're important, you are loved. So until next time.
I loved it. That was amazing.
And you know those scenes in a movie when a pretty girl walks in and everything else melts away and it's just that pretty girl, right? That's with me and Paul.
That's every time Paul speaks, man. I have to pay attention to it. Like,
Woo! Paul just spoke directly to my inner essence.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
none of you were there.
Paul has a way of doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, seriously, thank you. That was really incredible. I mean, I got nothing to follow up. I mean, that was really great. Thank you for submitting that, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nailed it, man.
Paul has a way of, I find, whenever I'm in his streams, always finding the right things to say. He's got such an incredible energy and personality, and whether it is just a little thing, like I, used to hate it when I was younger, but now I look forward to making sure I change my bed sheets and put clean sheets on my bed every week because it helps get rid of whatever has happened in the previous week, whatever I didn't want to get out of bed for, and helps me feel a little bit fresher. And as well as he said, you can't reiterate that enough. Reach out to someone, talk to someone if you're not feeling right, if you're feeling low, if you are feeling alone, just talk to someone, and you would always be surprised just how much you might find that the person you speak to, first of all, is probably going through their own stuff, and therefore they can relate to what you're saying and may be able to help and support you. But also that, like you said, you're never going to be a burden by saying those things. It's never. People will tell you if they cannot have that conversation with you in that moment, and they will either recommend someone else who might be able to help out, or they'll make time for you. And you know, you're not going to be putting too much on them. They'll let you know.
Yep. All right. I think next we have Reese Boy.
I'm Reese Boy, a big mental health advocate, and when I found out about this, I definitely wanted to say something, and I felt I could contribute something. But first things first, just want to say, definitely not a doctor, not a professional in this field whatsoever. I've just had my own issues, and through my experiences from what I had, kind of just relaying what I feel works for me, and from other things I found, which has definitely been beneficial to others. So the whole topic here is talking about burnout for content creation. So I think burnout is, you know, a bit of a vague term. So what is it? Is it, why are you burning out on this? Is it because you're just not enjoying it anymore? Are you doing it too much where it's a chore? Or is it kind of just anything in between there? So I think one of the first things you have to do is definitely consider and pinpoint what the actual issue is and where you feel the source is coming from. And then once you sort of got that, then you can start working towards that and trying to make changes and how to kind of get yourself out of this and, you know, kind of have this, you know, just have this just as a little blimp and go past it. So again, when it comes to the burnout and you're lacking the enjoyment of it, and is it overtaking your life? If that's the case, then maybe it's just finding a better life balance to the content creation. If something is completely overwhelming your life, then obviously it's just going to be a matter of time before you're tired of it. The enjoyment is completely sucked out of it. And then when that happens, you don't want to do it anymore. And if you do push on with it, you start resenting it, and that's how that happens. So for me, when I've kind of gotten a bit like that, the biggest thing is taking breaks. Just stop doing that. If it is doing podcasting, stop it. If it is streaming, just take a break from it. Focus on something that you do enjoy, whether it is, you know, playing a game, reading a book, just hanging with friends and family, cooking, just whatever guarantees is something that you enjoy. Focus on that. You know, don't feel guilty that you're not doing this, or when you feel like you should be doing it, just cut up, sever that tie. You can go back to that whenever you want. And then maybe once you've done that, once you've actually kind of enjoyed yourself again, had a bit of a time out, then maybe you'll feel like, you know what, I want to get back into doing that. And then you come back with some new energy right there. And then it would probably just be some general mental health tips. That's just a good tip as well, just taking breaks. That doesn't just have to be from content creation, just could be from anything if you feel like you're getting tired from it, or if something's actually bringing you down, or if it's something that you used to enjoy as well. But I think just some broad things which definitely help mental health is going for a walk, doing exercise, if it is just, you know, a weight training regime, or if it is just, you know, going for, you know, a 20-minute plus walk just outside. Clear your mind. Don't think about anything, only think about where you're going to go, and just, you know, enjoy the fresh air. Even if it's, regardless of the weather, just getting out the house, getting out of the four walls surrounding you just now, especially for people, maybe if you're in an office job or any type of work where you're just essentially moving from your four walls at home to the four walls at work. You know, get out there and see the world a little bit. It definitely will do the world a good there. Another thing is listening to music. Like, actually listening to music. Don't have it just in the background. Sit down listen to your favorite album front to back. Don't do anything else. Just do the music. For me personally, what definitely has been a massive positive for mental health over the pandemic for me is doing both at the same time. Going for a walk, my headphones on, listening to music, listening to old albums, just listening, focusing on the music, and just seeing wherever I end up. I could be walking, and honestly, if doing that makes it feel like an hour walk is just gone in the blink of an eye. And then another massive thing as well would be just talking to someone about this. Never suffer in silence. It's just, that's not going to do anything. People, whatever issue you're dealing with, someone's probably dealt with it. Someone's probably had it and, come out stronger on the other side. So you won't know if you don't ask. So if you talk to someone, and especially if it is burnout from content creation, reach out, talk to someone that you know who also does content. You'll be surprised to know what they've gone through and what helped them. Kind of just what you're doing just now. It's just, I feel that that's a massive thing that covers so many issues, just talking about it. As I said, it's just, if you keep it to yourself, nothing's going to change. But if you get out there, there's a big possibility that someone that you gets back to you has an answer, or has dealt with it before, and gives you a nice suggestion, and that's something you never would have had if you kept it to yourself. So I think this has maybe gone on for a little bit too long. Hopefully it's okay. Any issues, let me know. But other than that, yeah, I appreciate the Waypoint podcast guys for doing something like this. It's always my intention to kind of, destigmatize mental health. I'm not afraid to talk about it. I don't think anyone else should. And I think something like this will definitely, hopefully other people will take that ball and run with it and open up and talk about themselves. Or if not, just do one of the things I suggested, taking breaks, going for a walk, bit of exercise, and listening to music, focusing on things you do actually enjoy and coming back to it. And hopefully you have some new fresh energy after feeling a bit burnt out. But yeah, so I think that's it for me. Hopefully that's okay. So yeah, much love. Peace out, everybody.
So I have two things that I want to hit on with that just very fast. Is that one, the official stance of the Waypoint Media Club is that books are for nerds, and so I cannot professionally recommend that. Now,
That's great.
No, I actually just recently started this Les Airbender book about Avatar Kyoshi. It's very cool. Highly recommend reading. It's good for you. The other thing is I really dislike how he was just flexing those Nerf Alice joints on us right there on screen. I mean, he had to do me like that. So cool. And I was really hoping. I knew Reese Boy was sending this one in. I was really hoping to see his face, and the moment his desk popped up, just like on stream, I was like, I don't know what that's on me. Yeah. Sorry, I only had jokes this time.
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
Him having that little notebook to the side actually just reminded me of something else. A lot of the time, people might find it difficult to talk about these things with friends, with family. Write your feelings down.
Yeah.
Putting pen to paper is another good thing to do. Much like reading books to try and escape. You don't have to be sitting down trying to turn it into a novel or something that you're going to put out into the world necessarily, but just collecting your own thoughts, writing out your stream of consciousness, how you're feeling, why you're feeling that way, exploring that is always something that you can do as well if you feel comfortable doing it.
Sure. Yeah. It just made me think, like, regrettably, I've never had the opportunity to meet anyone on this call before today, and anyone that has submitted the videos, but clearly we all have so much in common and also are all dealing with the same stuff, right? And I would bet that it goes outside of just this call too, right? So you're not alone. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then I do have to apologize, but also know, because I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, I actually do have a commitment to my kids upstairs to take them out for a little bit. So I have to hop a little early.
No worries.
But guys, thank you so much. Alec, if you want me to leave my like not disconnect so it doesn't mess up your overlay.
No, you can. I got one I can switch to.
Okay, cool. But thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to talk about this. And
I said before you go, pimp your stuff.
Oh, for sure. Guys, so you can find me anywhere. It's /digital.games on Twitter. YouTube is where I put the most of my heart in my content, but certainly streaming on Twitch. Schedules are schedules, right? Can't say I'm too regular at this point, but hopefully in July, my kids start daycare. That'll be able to change a little bit. But yeah, come hang out. Let's talk more about this type of conversation. Let's talk about games and health on all different facets, and hopefully I can get to know a couple more people of the Waypoint folks or the KFBFs and just some more awesome people. So really thanks for having me today.
Thank you for coming on and all that you do. Yeah, appreciate it.
For sure. Yes, all right, guys.
It's been great chatting with you. Take care, man.
Man, appreciate you.
And the last one we have is Crafty Gamer Lady.
Hey.
Hi, this is Crafty Gamer Lady. And for me, when I was first starting to stream, I felt like I needed to stream every day. And it's really easy to fall into that trap because you think, well, I'm going to be just sitting here playing games anyway. Why not just stream it and hang out with people? But you don't realize the mental energy that it takes to do all the streaming stuff. You are your own costume and makeup person. You're your own light and camera tech. You are the writer and the editor and the producer. You are your own tech support when something breaks. You have to figure out how to fix it in Streamlabs or OBS. You have to get all of your layouts set up and all of that kind of stuff. So it really takes a toll, and you don't realize it until it's too late. So just start light, do a few days, see what you're comfortable with, and then you can always add more later. Don't be afraid to give yourself a vacation from streaming. It's easy to get burnout, and employers give their employees vacation days every year so that they can rest and recharge their batteries and not get completely burned out. You don't want to get to a point where you start dreading streaming and all of a sudden you hate what you're doing. Keep yourself loving what you're doing and give yourself that time to refresh. If you have viewers that are going to be insistent on you maintaining a certain schedule, come hell or high water, maybe those aren't the kind of viewers that you want to have in your community. Most people I've interacted with love and support you, and they want you to take care of yourself. And that's the most important thing. And remember to breathe daily. I know that's an awkward thing to say, but I don't think that we take enough time to really stop, close your eyes, and take just some deep breaths to slow your heart rate down, to mentally kind of reset yourself, take yourself out of whatever situation is making you frustrated or frantic, and just breathe. I do this on my channel. I have a channel point redemption, and I can use it for myself if I feel myself getting frustrated or if I'm getting too frantic in a game. We go to the deep breathing scene, and you watch a marble get carried up in a hot air balloon, and you breathe in, and then it goes down a slide, and you breathe out. And then it goes up in a basket and you breathe in, and then it goes down the slide and you breathe out. And there's all this Zen music in the background, but it can really make a difference in your day. So don't forget to breathe. Thanks so much, guys. And again, let me know if you need anything else, and I'm more than happy to help. Bye.
Yeah, that beginning part of her video hits where she's like, yo, you're doing all your own tech support, your lighting, your cameras, your everything. And there have been plenty of times where I've finished the stream and I just sat down and I went, fuck, I'm tired.
Yeah. Every time.
And I guess, I mean, it's like from a playing standpoint, like I was ready to be all of that, you know, to where it's like I understood that it's like, yeah, I've got to set up everything myself. I have to perform, I have to come up with all these things, I have to edit everything. If something breaks, I'm the one that has to fix that. And I think just going in, you can think about it without really thinking about it, if that makes any sense. Just
Yeah.
like understanding like how much that takes out of you. And yeah, the the thing she said at the beginning, to where it's like, well, I'm gonna be playing video games anyway, is literally what I said when I first started streaming. I was like, whatever, I'm gonna be playing games anyway. I might as well be doing it on Twitch. And yeah, people don't realize how much energy that you're using when you're performing, even if it's just sitting down and playing a game and talking to some people for a little while. There's so much of yourself that goes into that it can just wear you out. And yeah, it's so important to not stretch yourself too thin while you're doing all of that.
Yeah,
People underestimate the fact that anything you do for an audience is work. It's not about if you're getting paid. It's not about being, you know, a professional who's, you know, it's your full-time job or whatever. If you do it on any amount of time that you would be spending, you know, doing something else otherwise, it's work. And it, just like you say, Chris, it can take so you, and people really need to remember that, especially when they're starting out, because the rush of it, the fun of it, the meeting new people, the playing games, it is fun, but it can drain you, and some
will,
people have
yes.
got more stamina than others, but it's going to get to you in the end, and it will hit you like a freight train, the fatigue, and you will not want to go back to doing it. You need to acknowledge that if you have a full-time job or a part-time job, and then decide to do something like streaming or podcasting or making videos on top of it, that is, you're adding to your work week. It is work, even if it doesn't always feel like it. It is something that's going to take up your time and energy in a similar way.
Yeah, something I haven't mentioned yet on this episode is when I was, you know, it's that push to affiliate. You know, you see those guidelines. Like, you don't need to push that hard. You just enjoy it. That was honestly one of my biggest tips when I was streaming is don't do what I did and, you know, push to affiliate. Try to do it as quickly as possible and stream as many days as I could. And, you know, then after the stream, I would stay up even later and try and get clips. You know, try to make clips, you know, to put out on socials the days that I'm not streaming. Like, it's just, it is work, because you have to, like I said, set up all your scenes and transitions, and then you're also, you know, taking the time and going through your own stream and finding like moments to make content for those days that you don't stream. It really is work. So one thing to people that are thinking of doing content creation, it's not just the time that you are live.
No, in fact, that's the easiest part.
Exactly.
That's the easiest part is while you're on. As soon as you arrive, like usually, I mean, that was a hard lesson that I had to learn. Where I mean, it's all of those things that we're telling you not to do. I 100% did when I started. It's like I got in. I didn't have a job at that point, and so I was like, all right, I'm throwing myself at it. I was streaming 7 days a week. I would spend hours after each one of my streams, like going back watching them, gathering clips, like doing all that stuff. If I ever took a day off, I was editing stuff together to put on like Twitter or whatever for when I wasn't. And I mean, yeah, I kept at it for about 2 months, and then I got to a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I felt so bad about no longer being able to keep up that absolutely insane pace. And it's just something where it's like, it's not a bad thing to not be like that. Like it's really really not. Now after a stream, I walk away from my PC. I don't sit on it anymore. I was like, I stream, I sit, you know, I raid somebody, I'll sit in there for a few minutes, and then it's like, cool, I'm gonna go get food, I'm gonna go ahead and sit with my wife, maybe we'll watch TV or something. Like I walk away from it. And I mean, deciding to try and chase after, like, at least in my personal case, like streaming as a thing, as a job, you know, like the I had to kind of find days, is like now whenever I edit stuff like highlights or whatever that I want to put out on like Twitter or Instagram or something, that it's like I do that the next day or on the day where I'm not streaming, and I'm not constantly giving 150% of myself at all times. And as hard as it is with my work schedule fluctuating, I make sure that there's time where I'm not streaming. One, so I can do stuff here for Waypoint, but also two, where I can again edit things and fun clips and do all that sorts of things. But then also I always try now to make sure that I have at least a day in my week where I'm not doing any content at all. And just I'm taking in content for sure. I'm probably sitting in somebody else's Twitch stream, or I'm watching like Falcon Winter Soldier on Disney Plus. Like yeah, I'm doing something still, but because I'm a nerd and I have to have my nerd things.
But it's not being on.
But yeah, it's one way. I have to have some time every week where I'm not performing, and I mean it's like as genuine. I think that's something that's interesting about online content is as much as our online personas, for lack of a better word, are genuinely us, it is still a performance, and there's so much energy that goes into that it's a lot. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people are necessarily prepared for that, and people that don't do it might not necessarily understand like how much of us it is. Like, yeah.
Any final thoughts before we end this?
I think just thank you to everyone who submitted videos. I love
all their
the
links will be in the description.
I love the running themes of do something, listen to music, right? I definitely have my sad boy playlist for when I want to be in the fields, and then I got the uplifting ones to get me out of there. And I'm just hitting on notes that Paul and Reese Boy hit on. Like, you're not a burden. Your problems are legit problems. Don't suffer in silence. My God, please don't. I did for the longest time. Exactly. I did for the longest time because I felt guilty talking to it, and I just bottled everything up to the breaking point where I had to drag myself to, urgent care. Bawled my eyes out to a nurse, came back 3 weeks later for to see a doctor, and got the diagnosed OCD, ADHD, depression, like that trio. And so I find it so easy to just get lost in my own head, and just say yes to social events more. Just be a little bit more social. Just talk to anybody.
I know it's hard right now, but
yeah,
even online,
even just like a watch party, just sit through Snyder Cut with your homies, just to like.
Oh, don't do that. I cannot recommend not doing
Invincible.
That.
That was a good one.
Yeah. But yeah.
Snyder Cut.
Yeah, I think we've pretty much covered it all, but more than anything else, just take care of yourself. Look out for yourself and others around you as well. If you see someone who you think is pushing themselves too hard, if you notice that they don't necessarily seem like themselves on social media, or when you're talking to them, or when they're streaming, or putting something out into the world, just reach out to them if they're not necessarily reaching out to you, and don't be afraid to do the same for yourself when you're feeling those kinds of ways.
Yeah, I'm sure I speak for most of us if you're having an issue, if you just want to talk, reach out to any of us. I mean, I am happy to just, even if you don't want anybody to respond, you just need to write it out and just get it out. Because sometimes just getting it out and off your chest can just do wonders.
1,000%. DM's always open.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
All right, Joe. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be sure to have you on to maybe do a bit of a lighter topic.
In case you can't tell, I'm kind of a big nerd, so I'm happy to reach out with you guys on anything and everything. Always. Thank you so much for having me on as well. It's been fantastic and a really good conversation with you all.
Hey, dude, thank you so much for being here, man. We love you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
we do.
Love you all too.
Literally one of the only KFBFs and other people that I've met IRL.
I know. It'll be so good when we can meet up again.
And before we go,
wait to, as Josh describes it, give all just big old mouth hugs. Every single one. Yeah, normalize kissing the homies.
Exactly. Normalize kissing the homies.
Before we go, Joe, if you want to pimp out your stuff again, links will all be in the description too.
Of course, like I said, the MedForce is a part-time stream working towards a full-time dream. It's a community where anyone and everyone is welcome. I'm live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on twitch.tv/JoeMedForce. It starts at 6 p.m. UK time, and you can always check out my Twitch schedule. Follow me at JoeMedForce on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I try and post regularly there as well whenever I'm live. And like the other guys said, let's reach out, let's have a chat, let's talk about how you're feeling. I'm more than happy to do so anytime.
He's also a huge Star Wars fan, which is a big old plus in my book. I had the lightsaber to me, baby, just me.
Let's freaking go.
And that has been The Grind. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please feel free to like and share this video with somebody that might need the help with this kind of stuff. And we will see you at the next waypoint.